Hi, guys, and welcome back to Midday Matcha with Livi. Clearly, I am fucking Livi. I'd be lying if I said today I was in like a good mood. I'm really not. I'm PMSing, like I'm about to get my period any second. But I got a hate comment today, and it's like it took everything in me. It wasn't even that bad. It literally wasn't that bad. I just posted a TikTok, and I got a hate comment. It took everything in me to not be like, you can just shut the fuck up. Like, that's where I'm at, where I was like, you can just shut the fuck up. And I knew if I commented that, it would have been really bad, really negative, so I did not do that. But I'm just like the crankiest little bitch today, like ever. So that's where I'm at. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what it is. It's my period. I'm PMSing. It's horrible. I hate it so much. But let's get into my week intro. It feels weird. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in a while because I had Tim on last week. And I feel like when I have a guest, it's not like the same as just like chit-chatting alone and like doing our thing together by ourselves. So I'm glad to be back, like just you and I. It feels really good, really refreshing. Okay, first thing on my week intro. I'm a YouTube girly now, fully invested in this YouTube shit. I don't know what it is. I do love doing it. And what I mean by that is like I'm doing weekly vlogs, which, well, yeah, they're vlogs. I absolutely love them. They're very fun for me to make. And so go and subscribe to my YouTube. You're probably watching this shit on YouTube, but that's where we're at. And they're like 30, 45-minute vlogs. Depends on how much content I can give you guys. But yeah, I'm like, fuck this. I'm fully a YouTube girly. I love that. My Chicago recap is that shit was draining. I don't know. Every time I'm back in Chicago, I just feel super drained, and I just think it's because there's so much that's happened there. There's a lot of trauma that's happened there, and I just genuinely feel drained every time I'm in that bitch. I'm like, God, this is exhausting being here. And I've said that probably in a million podcast episodes at this point, but it is a little fucking draining. So that's that. But I did meet my mom's new man, and like that was the big thing. My mother wanted me to meet this man. He's cool, you guys. There's really nothing else for me to say. Like, I don't hate him. I don't love him. Because, like, why would I love him? I just met the man. Why the fuck am I going to be like, oh my God, he's so amazing. Like, he's the best thing ever. He's cool. He's cool. He's good people. He's cool. But yeah, I don't know. My mom literally wanted me to, like, fall over and be like, he's amazing. And that's just not where I'm at with it. That's just not where I'm at. But also, this is, like, my mom's second boyfriend ever. So it's weird for me to like have to meet the boyfriends. Like the first one I met and he like became like a dad to me, and now he's fully gone. So he's just like my real dad. He's like fully gone. But yeah, like it's just weird to like meet these men. And I don't know if like, I'm sure a lot of you guys have like divorced parents and your parents are dating. It's just like fucking weird. It's like, okay, let's just chit chat. Let me tell you all about myself, like, is what it is. And my mother gave me a list of things I was not allowed to talk about before we went to dinner together. And I was like, okay, so that pisses me off even more, because if you're going to tell me not to talk about things, I'm just going to get really fucking annoyed and I'm going to talk about them. But there was a point at dinner where he like asked me how somebody I knew passed away. And the way I said it was so vicious. I was like, overdose. Is what it is. And I was like, oh my God, like it was so vicious. And he just looked at me and was like, oh my God. And I was like, and my mom was like, what? And I was like, oh, my bad. But yeah, and I just keep replaying that moment in my head, because it was like one of those moments where it's like, you want to say something different, but like I couldn't. I just like had to tell the truth. I don't know. It was like the one time in my life where I was like, I'll just be honest, whatever. Anyways, so met my mom's man. I went there for one of my best friends, Sarah, her baby shower. Guys, she also does all my graphic design stuff. So like the cover art to this shit, like this podcast that you clicked on, Sarah does all of that. So she's having a little baby girl. Oh my God. And it makes me emotional every time I like think about it or talk about it, just because it's like, that's so crazy. It's obviously the first baby in my friend group. Also like the first baby that, like, my cousins and shit have babies, but like I don't fuck with them that heavy. Like this baby I'm gonna love like no other. It is going to be she is going to be spoiled like no other. When I tell you, I already have Christmas presents in mind, and I'm just so excited to meet her. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. But we did the baby shower. It was absolutely gorgeous, stunning. That's why I was in Chicago. But yeah, since I got back, I've just been and I got back yesterday. So I'm like, since I got back, I've just been exhausted. Like, mind you, like I've only been back one day. I'm just a tired girly. I think that's completely fine. I'm getting my period. I'm a busy fucking bitch. So I'm just a little bit tired. But this week's episode is going to be about setting boundaries, okay? Because I fucking love a boundary. If there's one thing I love, it's a fucking boundary. So setting boundaries with people is very difficult. That's why I wanted to make this episode, because I feel like it's very hard. And a lot of times you don't even know that you need boundaries in your life. So I was like, okay, I'll make this episode. I'll tell you guys how I set boundaries, the positive effects that I've seen from setting boundaries and everything like that. But yeah, overall, setting boundaries is protecting your peace. And that's like the best way I feel like I can phrase it. Like once you set boundaries, and take a shot every time I say boundaries in this episode, you'll be blacked the fuck out. But once you set boundaries and like honor your self-worth and your feelings and emotions, your life just will change, and like it is overall just protecting your peace. But I do have to move. I have to like sit like this just because I think it's more comfy for me today. So let's get into what the fuck is a boundary, you guys. A boundary is something you do so people don't walk all over you. And this is like Google's definition of a boundary, because it's like we have Livy's definition where I'm like protecting your fucking peace, all those things. But then we also have like Google's actual thing. And Google said it's taking ownership of your own feelings and not being made to feel responsible for other people's feelings. Confusing, I know, right? So when I dumb it down into, for me, like not dumb it down, but when I livify it and I'm like, okay, what does that really mean? But just like prioritizing your feelings above everyone else's feelings. And I know that sounds super selfish, but we'll like get into that. But yeah, I'm big on boundaries. And like some examples are of the boundaries. I'll deep dive on to like later in the episode of boundaries I've created, but with like friendships and stuff, like if I don't want to go out and I don't want to do something, I'm not going to fucking do it, because I'm honoring my feelings, my emotions over someone else's feelings and emotions. And it's like, it does feel like a very selfish act, but only if you're like used to really people pleasing. So yeah. Let's get into people pleasing though, because I think that's probably one of the most important things that makes setting boundaries super uncomfortable. Listen, I never thought I was a people pleaser. I was like, me, a people pleaser? And then one of my ex-flings made me read this book. Fuck, I forgot the name of the book. It's Boundary something. I'll post it on my Instagram story. But he made me read this book, and I was like, holy fuck, I'm a people pleaser. And I was like, I'm a straight cunt. I never once thought I was a people pleaser. And then I read this book, and I was like, holy shit, no, I'm a people pleaser. So Google's definition of a people pleaser is a person feels a strong urge to please others even at their own expense. At the expense of like your own wants and needs, you're willing to make another person happy before yourself. The reason this is bad is because you're not honoring your emotions and your feelings. And like, for instance, and you can people please in all aspects of your life. Like you can people please at work, relationships, friendships, mother-daughter, father-daughter relationships. Yeah, it's just bad because you're normally like overworking and not putting yourself and your needs first. For example, like when I was people pleasing at a job I worked last year this time, it kind of looked like, oh my God, like I didn't want to take off a day. I didn't want to let everybody down. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't putting myself and my needs before the job. And I think it's really easy with a job, especially to people please, because you're like, what? They're going to need me to survive. Like, what are they going to do without me? Like, I feel shitty taking the day off because, like, what, my mental health is bad or something like that? Or, like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. Like, I feel shitty taking the day off. It's like, bitch, you're people pleasing. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm people pleasing. So that was, like, the number one way I saw myself people pleasing. But yeah, you're just going to overwork and overstress yourself. So once you get down to the root of like, okay, why am I people pleasing? Why am I conditioned to think that way? And a lot of times I think work-wise, it's society conditioning you and telling you that's how you're supposed to be. Like, I feel like we're such in a hustle culture where it's like, oh my God, I have to work this much. I have to do this much. I have to, oh my gosh, how is the company going to survive without me if I take a day off? My team's going to need me. No, I have these meetings I need to attend. I have this, and this. If you keep doing that, you're never going to have a day off. You're never going to do that. Where I think it's important to take those mental health days, focus on yourself, take a fucking break. But it's hard to do that when you're used to people pleasing. And like, but once you learn to do that and like take those days off and do those things, that means that you're setting the boundary. Okay, let's get more into people pleasing. In relationships, people pleasing looks like doing everything your partner wants and not honoring your emotions. Like, I think of that randomly, like if my partner was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to a Little Yachty concert. And I'm like, okay, fuck Lil Yachty, I don't want to go, which I don't think that, but I'm like, I don't want to go to a Lil Yachty concert. I don't like that. But you know what? Since my lover likes it, I'm going to go and I'm going to sit through Lil Boat's concert and have the time of or like do that for them just because, you know, like I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to make them mad when in reality, they could go with a friend that just likes Lil Yachty more. I don't know why the fuck we picked Lil Yachty, but whatever. So, and in relationships, I would say especially, there's a difference between people pleasing and compromising. So you just have to know the difference in the sense of like, if you genuinely don't want to do something because it's just like not going to interest you. Like, I think if my partner was like, let's go to an EDM concert, I would be like, okay, absolutely. I'm not the bitch you take to an EDM concert. Like, I hate EDM and shit like that. But a compromise would be like, okay, we can, you can go with your friends to the EDM concert or something like that, or even a compromise. I don't know. I'm like, I just know I would be miserable at an EDM concert. Like, I think of a man taking me to the Brooklyn Mirage, which like, guys, in New York, that's just like this ginormous venue for like house music basically, and DJs is what I think it is. And I think if a man was like, you need to come to the Brooklyn Mirage with me, I'd be like, oh fuck no, I'm gonna lose my mind. And it's like, you have to honor your thoughts and feelings, but if it can't just be like, people pleasing is doing it regardless of what you want to do. Like if you're like, I don't want to do it because I'm stressed and I have like a work meeting and then I have to go sit at this EDM concert, right? You're like, that's people pleasing. You're doing that regardless. You're not putting your feelings and emotions beforehand, where you're like, you're stressed, you have work to do, all those things, but instead you're going to go to an EDM concert. Compromising would be like, okay, I'll go for like an hour or something. I don't fucking know. Honestly, compromise, it's whatever feels right in your relationship, but I think it's important to set the boundaries of like, these are the things I like, these are the things you like, kind of thing. And I feel like other people's interest is a hard one to compare people pleasing to. I think it's more of just, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It all comes like that. But I want everyone to read this book, even though I don't know what the fuck the name of the book is. I really will post it on my Instagram story because it helps so much. So yeah, let's talk about when it's important to set boundaries all the time. All the fucking time it's important to set boundaries. Like all relationships, friendships, work relationships, everything. It's so important to set a boundary. A lot of times we don't have boundaries and it shows. So literally every part of even with yourself, like you should have boundaries with yourself. So let's talk about how setting boundaries is not really easy and just like some of the boundaries that I've set before. So first, I gotta drink water because a bitch talks a lot. I've set a lot of boundaries in my life. Like I set one with my mom. Okay, this is a good one where the woman loves to call me and she loves to talk about money and my dad. Two topics I don't really like talking about because it's also just like her complaining about money. So I told her, I was like, hey, moving forward, if you're gonna call me at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, if it's going to be about my dad or money, I don't want to talk about it. And that's a boundary I'm setting because these conversations are making me upset, and then I'm going through the day upset, annoyed, and frustrated that I had a conversation at 10 in the fucking morning with my mom about my father and money. So I had to set the boundary with her like, hey, I'm kind of done talking about those things. I don't really want to talk about that. And with that being said, it's important to put those boundaries for yourself. So any conversations that you really don't like having with somebody else because it just like upsets you and pisses you off through the rest of the day. And it's like there's a very valid point of being there for someone. I think you should 100% be there for somebody. But then it takes on a different measure where it's like, okay, this is beyond me just being there for you. This is like, now I'm your therapist. And I'm not getting fucking paid to be your therapist. Like when it starts affecting your everyday life and it starts affecting your emotions, it's like, okay, I can't, that's where I draw the line. That's where I set the boundary of like, okay, no, I'm not discussing those things. Mom, I'm not talking about dad, okay? I don't care about the man. I don't want to talk to him anymore. And I don't want to talk about money and financial loss and things like that. That doesn't brighten up my fucking Tuesday. But other conversations I will have with her in like the sense if she's talking about my father in a sense where she's hurt or something like that, I'll hear her out in that way. Not just her sitting there complaining about a man I don't fucking know anymore. So I'm like, I don't want to talk about those things. So I'm not your therapist. I'll be supportive, but when it crosses a line with a topic that will affect me and affect me for the rest of the day, that's where I'm like, I don't get billed for this shit. I'm not a therapist, okay? That's where I set the boundary. So that's when you call a therapist. But also another boundary I set, like this is a friendship boundary I set. During Thanksgiving, I went to Chicago and I was visiting all my friends, my family, everybody. I would say within 3 days, I was back and forth from the city to the suburbs, seeing like a bunch of fucking people. And I was exhausted. I was tired. Mind you, at the same time, I was posting 3 to 5 times on TikTok, like keeping up with all the madness that TikTok is and everything like that. And I was like, I am so exhausted. Like, I'm over this. I'm completely exhausted. I went to dinner with my mom and my sisters, and I was so tired to the point where like I wasn't really talking at dinner. And my mom was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And it's like, bitch, I'm just tired. Like, I'm just exhausted. So, and I had plans to go out with my friends later. And I was like, honestly, I just like don't think I can go because I'm so fucking exhausted. And a lot of times I would have just pushed myself and went out regardless because I wanted to be out with my friends and things like that. And I didn't want them to get mad and I didn't want them to get upset or anything like that. But then I took a step back and I was like, wait, I read that book. I read the book. I can't people please anymore. I have to set the boundary of like, oh, wait, no, I actually don't want to go out right now. I want to stay in and I want to sleep because I'm exhausted. I have a flight early in the morning and I have to get back to New York. And I've just been ran through this week, and not like in the positive way of a sexual ran through. It ran through in the sense that like everybody has gotten all my emotions and my energy and I'm fucking tired. And I got in a huge fight with one of my best friends about it because she was like, well, you're just being like, you're being so selfish, like you're not coming out and things like that. And I was like, no, I'm telling you right now, I'm exhausted. I've been nonstop go, 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 go. I do not want to come out tonight because I'm, one, not going to be a good time for you. Two, I'm not honoring my mental health and my needs. So I do not want to go out. And she was just losing her goddamn mind. And I was like, if this is affecting the friendship that much that I don't want to go out, there's a problem, okay? Because I, at the end of the day, don't owe anybody anything, okay? There might be a plan in place. There might be all these things. But if I'm mentally drained and I'm emotionally drained and I'm not feeling something, I'm not going to push myself to do it because I just know in the long run that's not healthy for me and that's bad for my mental health. And then I get in these points where I'm just fucking exhausted and I drain myself more than I was already drained. And I was like, no, I'm sticking to the fact that I am not going out tonight. And I'm so sorry that you're hurt about this, but our friendship does not... Sorry, guys, I looked at my hair and I was like, what the fuck was that? But our friendship does not depend on whether I show face at this bar tonight or not. And if our friendship is like so important as we say it is, then you can also honor my boundaries. But that was like the first time I ever set boundaries with my friends. And I think it was like a shock to them because like that is something where it's like, I want to go out, I want to do those things, but I'm so mentally fucking drained that I can't do it. So I'm setting the boundary of, hey, I'm not doing this tonight. We might fight about it. And like the thing is, we did fight about it. And like I was saying, setting boundaries is really uncomfortable because I'm sitting there and I'm fighting with my best friend about going to a fucking bar. And I'm like, this is so dumb. I could easily just like go to the bar and then I'm people pleasing and I'm miserable for the rest of the night and then I'm drained for the week following. Or I could just, she could respect my boundary and be like, okay, I completely understand it. You're not there mentally. And I do think it's something that comes with age is like, setting boundaries and understanding them with our friends and stuff. Because there's been times where like my friends will be like, oh, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then I get upset too. But I just think it's something that comes with age because we always do just want our friends to like do the things that we want to do and all those things. But at the same time, if it's not honoring their self-worth, we shouldn't be pushing them to do that. Like if they have a boundary that they don't want to do something, they shouldn't do it. I also have a boundary with my friends now about drinking. I am not the biggest drinker. I don't love drinking that much. Like some special occasions like my birthday, I'll drink. And then like if I go out, I have one drink and I'm good. But I love my friends dearly. Those bitches love to fucking drink, every single one of them. There's not enough tequila in the world that will be good enough for them for a night out kind of thing. Like the bitches, they love to drink. And I love that about them. But when I tell them, oh, I'm not drinking, or they're like, do you want a second drink? And I'm like, no. And they give me like a dirty look, like, why the fuck are you not drinking? I look at that in my mind, I'm like, I could leave right now. Do you want me to go right now? Because I'll fucking go. And it is a little bit aggressive, I'm not going to lie. But I'm like putting the point across, like, this is my boundary. I only want one drink right now. If I want a second drink, I'm very capable of getting it myself. I don't need to be on the same pace as everybody else. And I don't need to black the fuck out to have a good time. Most of the time, I could be pretty sober, go to the event sober, and I'll be good. You know what I mean? So my boundary with my friends now is that, like, if you're going to push me to drink, I'll snap the fuck back, number one. Number two, I'll leave. Like, I'm just not going to feel pressured into drinking just because they drink 20 times more than me and I don't. It doesn't mean I'm not going to have a good time. Doesn't mean anything. And I'm not going to be peer pressured into drinking just because these fuckers can, like, down tequila as if it's water. I'm like, absolutely not, you guys. Like, we're good there. So those are just like a couple little boundaries I feel like I created through friendships. Going out is definitely a big one, where if I'm like, no, I'm not going out tonight, I don't want to do that. There's no words that will convince me to take my ass outside. And if most of the time I do know how to decide whether it's like a boundaries thing or just I'm being a little bit like, there's like, you know, there's a boundaries thing of like, no, I'm not going out. I don't want to do that. And then like, okay, I could be convinced to go out. I was just like a little tired. I don't want to do it. And they're like, no, come on, we'll have fun. Da, da, da. You just need to know the difference of the two. So I've also ended a friendship because of boundaries, of the sense of like, this person wasn't respecting my boundaries. I had a friendship where that friend would call me all the time and we would talk for 2 hours about their problems, like 2 fucking hours. And I'm sure we all have the friends that we can think of that, right? I'm completely fine with talking with my friends for 2 hours, but not every day. A bitch has got to work. A bitch has got things to do. You know what I mean? Just like you do, just like they do. So it's like I had a friend that would call me every day and we would talk for 2 hours about the same thing. And once I created the boundary of like, hey, I can't keep doing this. It's really draining for me. And it's just like, I can't do it every single day. I can be there when you need me to be there. But it, like, if that's every single day, all day, every day, I'm not the one for that. Like, I'm busy. I have a life. I'm working, whatever. And this person had a lot of free time, so they were able to do that. But it's just like, hey, I personally cannot do that. And once I created that boundary, they were like, well, what the fuck? You're just a bad friend. Like, you don't support me. You don't do anything. And I'm like, you know what? If me creating a boundary makes you think I'm somehow a fucking cunt and I don't care about you or our friendship because I'm putting my needs first, then like, so be it. I'll let you think that. I'll let the friendship go. I'll let things go like that. Like, because she was also just like, well, then I don't want a friend that can't be there for me. And it's like, I never said I couldn't be there for you. I said I couldn't be there for you 24/7, every single day. I can't do that. I can't pick up the phone call and talk from 12 to 2, and then I'm behind on my work and I have to work till 9 fucking p.m. No, I can't do that. So I set that boundary. And it's like, I am still willing to take a phone call. I'm still willing to be there for you no matter what, just not every day. Every day is not like possible for me whatsoever. But if you want to end a friendship and I'm a bitch because I created boundaries, so be it. Because I'm going to continue to honor my boundaries and the things that I need. And that is what I'm always going to continue to do, because I'm not going to fall into a people-pleasing pattern and then everyone's like down my fucking throat about little things. Absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. No, I feel like I've grown past that. And like the older I get, the more I do value my peace. And I'm like, you know what? These little things aren't bringing me peace. So I will create the boundary of, hey, this isn't fucking happening anymore. I'm not doing that anymore because it's disrupting my day, my feelings, my fucking peace. Keep it moving. So yeah. But yeah, that's what, like with the friendship too, it's like, if you need to talk to someone all day, every day, I have a great fucking therapist. I'll recommend you to her. Okay. You pay a therapist for that. You know, you pay someone to be there whenever you need them. You don't pay your friends to do that. And you can't expect your friends to be there 24/7 nonstop for you around the clock when they also have their own lives that they need to live. And that's the fucking tea. But yeah, I'm fine with ending. And honestly, guys, like, my friends now, I feel like since I started creating boundaries, I think all of my friends respect them. I think it is something where when you do create that boundary, at first it might be like a little bit of a shock for somebody. They're like, wait, what the fuck? Like, I'm not used to this. I'm used to you doing like whatever I want or whatever I say. So it definitely can be a little bit of a shock. And I don't know. I think it'll take someone to adjust to a boundary, but if they are ultimately just not adjusting and just being really fucking annoying and rude about the boundaries, then it's like evaluate that friendship, because someone who really does love and care about you will want you to honor your boundaries and like really respect your time and yourself and like the things you do for yourself and putting yourself first. So it's, if someone's not respecting a boundary, cut them the fuck off, honestly. Or have a talk with them. I'm a quick bitch to block. I'm a quick bitch to block and like get them the fuck out of here. Have a talk with them. Hey, if you're not going to respect my boundaries moving forward, there's a problem. We need to fix that. Da 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 da. Right? Okay, so another big boundary, and I think a lot of you guys will be able to relate to this, is you go home for the holidays and you have that one fucking annoying uncle who just like wants to talk politics, right? I've created the boundary with my family where I'm like, if I'm coming home for the holidays and politics is on the table, I don't want to talk about it. I know we don't have the same views. And personally, I don't want to be eating my fucking turkey talking about what's happening in the news today. That's so not important. I haven't seen you fuckers for a year. We can talk about other things. I don't need to hear about your views in the world that probably aren't the same as mine, and it's only going to upset me. So I think that is a big thing, to create a boundary with someone when you're going home for the holidays or you're around family members. I don't know. I feel like just because they're family, they think they can talk about whatever the fuck they want. But like, I don't have a lot of the same political views as people in my family, 100%. Like, and I will be the one, listen, I'm the one to fucking argue it too. And like be like, okay, well, you can shut the fuck up. And I don't want to do that at Thanksgiving. You know, I don't want to scream across the table and tell my uncle to shut the fuck up because his views are outdated or something like that. I don't want to feel the need to do that. So even with like my mom and my sisters too, I'm like, if we're going to talk politics, I don't want to talk about this shit. And I feel like it's such a normal thing to talk about at Thanksgivings and shit. It's like, why are we discussing the presidential debate at Thanksgiving? Ask me how my fucking year has been, and I'll lie to you and tell you that I haven't been sleeping around and like fucking half of New York City. And I'll tell you I've just been loving life and like work's been amazing. And it's just like, I'm living my best self. And it's like, but reality, I've been fucking and sucking all of New York City. Like, whatever. We don't need to discuss Joe Biden. Like, I don't need to talk about the man, you know? Like, I don't give a fuck. So I've set the boundary of, like, if something comes up at, like, a family holiday or something where someone wants to talk politics, I'll be like, do we really need to speak about politics? Like, this is the first time we're all together in a year, and you feel the need to bring up, like, politics or something like that? I'm so good. I'll pass. And if the conversation keeps happening, I'll remove myself from it, and I'll remove myself from the room. Because for me personally, I'm like, I just, like, do not want to be annoyed and upset on Thanksgiving. Like, talk to me about the superficial shit. Nobody needs to deep dive on their political stance at Thanksgiving. And honestly, like, not saying I'm not a big politics girl, but I mean, like, I'm not gonna just like sit at dinner and talk about politics. Like, that's not my thing. And so yeah, it's just like I have my views, I have my beliefs, probably like the pretty normal standard ones, and I just don't feel the need to hear like the ignorant shit, and I don't care about that. So I know a lot of you guys have those things with your family too, and family thinks they can say whatever the fuck they want just because they're family, and it's like, no, I'll also set the boundary with you too, bitch, okay? So take a step back. I think boundaries are important every situation, anytime. So with family, with friends, relationships, all those things. So yeah, this is my boundary, and if you continue to cross my boundary, either you're not going to get my time or I'm going to get the fuck up and walk away. Either way, you're really just not getting my time. So boundaries in dating. Me personally, because this podcast is all about me, is my biggest boundary in dating, I will say, is after the relationship is done. This is the one that I really will not go back on whatsoever. So once the relationship is done for me, I cut all contact. I do not want anything to do with them. I don't care about their day. I don't care if they got that job. I don't care about any of those things. For me, healing and growth is cutting contact and communication 100%. I'll probably unfollow you on Instagram or mute the shit out of you. I do not care. That boundary, I do that. Like, we don't need to do monthly check-ins, babe. I'm so fucking good, because I don't need that, in the sense that once I'm done with you, I'm done with you. So that means you're cut from my energy, you're cut from my life, okay? And I'm pretty much a cutthroat bitch about this, but it's like, will no longer give my energy and my time to people who are not in my life. I'm very particular with who gets my energy and who gets my time. We know this, you guys. I think I've said a million fucking times on this podcast. My circle is so small. It is for a reason. I don't let random motherfuckers just get my energy. I'm not going to do that because, guys, I'm an empath. And, like, once they get my energy, I'm like, oh, my God. And I can feel their energy. Like, even this past weekend with, like, my best friend, I've been helping her out and stuff. And, like, when she's sad, I can, like, genuinely feel it. And I like to take on people's energies, and I like to have a small circle so I can do that. But once I'm done with you, I'm fucking done with you. So that will mean either I'm blocking you, or I'm just cutting communication in general. Normally, I'll just mute the text messages. I don't know if I'll go full block unless it was something really intense. But I don't feel the need to recap the relationship as to why it ended. Once I have that closure talk, we're good, babe. I got my closure. I don't need to have it every other Thursday. I'm so fucking good. I don't need to be sending you paragraphs. I'm so good. And I also don't need to be reading your paragraphs. Once we're done, we're done. I'm going to move on. I'm going to focus on myself, probably date new people. I don't need to have monthly check-ins. I'm really fucking good. And I'm pretty cutthroat with that. Like, my exes from years ago that I've dated like 2+ years, I literally don't even think about them. And I think that's something that you might like, okay, you're fucking crazy for that. But at the same time, I'm not sitting there crying about an ex that I had 3 years ago, okay? So that's that. Like, once I'm done with somebody and you're not in my life anymore, I treat you just as such. Like, you're not in my life, and that's okay. We decided to go separate ways. I don't need to fucking text you. I don't need to hear from you. I don't need to see you, and I don't need to see your posts. And that's that. So that's my biggest boundary is like, when I'm done, and you don't get access to this energy. You had it once. You're not going to have it again. So I close that circle back up and we're good. Like, you were in my circle for a quick minute. I close it up and we're good. And I'm very, very big on that for like my friends to do that too, because the longer you hold onto bad and negative energy, good things can't come your motherfucking way. So I've always said that, and I always will say that. But yes. So let's talk about the boundaries I've made and positive effects that I've seen from the boundaries. Normally, people usually have a pretty valid response when I express my boundaries. Why do my lips do that when I drink water? That was really fucking weird. Yeah, normally people are like, I completely understand that. You're good. I get it. Normally, sometimes people are like fucking idiots and they're just like rude and they won't accept it. And like, normally those people, I'm like, babe, hey, take a step back, love, take a step back. What the fuck is you doing? What the fuck is you doing? If you can't respect my boundary, you can't respect me. Get out of my life, whatever. So yeah, because I explain it like this. I'm like, hey, I need this boundary because of this. So I need this boundary so I can protect my self-worth and my peace. You know what I mean? If you're going to continue to do those things, it's really affecting my peace. It's really affecting my day-to-day, and I just don't want to deal with it anymore. That's completely fair, a boundary to set. So, and you're like, I know you're like, Livy, this is so hard. Like, creating a boundary is so hard. 100%. I fully fucking agree. Boundaries are difficult to say. Boundaries are difficult to stick to as well. But the longer you honor your emotions and you stop people pleasing, you create those boundaries and you put yourself first, you're going to live a life that's so much more valuable for not only you, but like the people around you. Like, you have so much happiness and love to give to the people around you when you're valuing yourself and your self-worth, and you have more energy to do the things that they want to do, and you're not feeling like you're dragged to these occasions or something like that, or you're doing things just to make other people happy. You feel like you're actually fulfilling your happiness, your wants and needs as well. So also, I'm still learning boundaries. I think boundaries and setting, like, protecting your peace is something that's really important. And I don't think it's like, oh, you created the boundary, you're like amazing, you're good, you're woo, you know? I think with time, there's always going to be new boundaries. Like, I've switched jobs 100% from the job I was working last year where I had to learn boundaries and people pleasing. I'm now work for myself, and I've had to create boundaries. Well, I'm learning to create boundaries with you guys, even like the internet, of how much I share and what I say, because I really did start this with like, I'm going to say everything, I'm going to do everything. And I still do that. And I probably still will always do that. But there's little things that I like to keep to myself, because there are things that I need to keep for me, you know, and then also I like feel like I owe you guys an explanation when things happen and I'm like, oh fuck, this is not great. So for example, like when I was dating that one fucking loser and I like made a TikTok about it, and I was like, get ready with me for my first date. And I was like, wait, I like this fucker. It's like so amazing. And then we ended. And like then I have to tell millions of people why we ended and things like that. And it's like, I don't know, ever since that happened, I remember talking to Nicole about this yesterday. I was like, okay, I'm creating the boundary that like I'm not talking about guys I'm dating until I'm like, oh, I know what this is, or like things that they've done at least like 3 to 6 months after the fact. So things that you hear of like the shit that I talk about guys are always 3 to 6 months after the fact that it happened, or even years ago. I have a story from years ago from those whack ass motherfuckers. So yeah, I'm creating boundaries in that sense of like what I share with you guys. I'm creating boundaries with how much work I'm doing and how much I'm extending myself. So for that, like, events, that's a good thing. I'm creating boundaries with like what events are actually beneficial for me to go to and are worth me going, getting glammed, networking, doing all those things, and like actually fulfill me. Like they make me feel good. Like I think about the one I did last week where I'm like, that made me feel good. I felt fulfilled in that. I loved that. I want to do more events like that. I want to do less of the like, like, oh my God, I'm your TikTok. Oh my God, like smile with this product. I want to do more of the let's deep talk, let's deep dive, let's talk, let's, get to really know each other instead of the superficial shit, So I'm creating boundaries in that sense. And then, yeah. So I'm also learning, okay, what's too much? What am I doing too much of? What am I not doing enough of, So I think boundaries are like everlasting, I think is the ongoing, whatever. You know what the fuck I mean. I don't have to explain myself. So, yeah. Also, like, learning boundaries with brand deals and things like that of, like, what I'm willing to sacrifice for my audience for a check. You know what I mean? And let me tell you, not much. I'd rather leave money on the table than sacrifice any part of myself for a fucking deal. And that's just that. That's just me being honest. And I'm learning that while I go with it. Because, like, I've only been doing this shit 6 months. So I'm learning every day of like, okay, these are the things that I want to do. These are the things I don't want to do. I'm okay with leaving this on the table and not doing this. And yeah, I'll take a huge pay cut if it means I still get to be myself and I get to be authentic. Because at the end of the day, that's what means the most to me. And that's a boundary I'm creating. Like, I'm not doing the dumb brand deals and shit like that. I'm going to stick to myself and feel authentic with myself. And it took me a while to understand that and learn that. I'm still so brand new to this world, but now I know. I'm like, we're not doing that shit. We're not. So if you guys have any questions about boundaries, feel free to ask them below. I really did love making this episode because I feel like we don't utilize boundaries enough and putting ourselves first. And that's like my biggest thing. I love myself. Wait, what? Sorry, what? I love myself. I love honoring my self-worth and my needs and protecting my peace. I think those are some of the most important things to me. Like protecting my peace and my sanity is so fucking important to me. And that might mean sacrificing other things and creating boundaries and upsetting other people. But guess what? I still have my fucking peace at the end of the day. And that's what I need to get me through the day. So create those boundaries, protect your peace, cut people out of your life who are not respecting your boundaries, honoring them and understanding them, and honestly just get to know yourself and like what boundaries you need in this life, in this world. So I think that's it for this week's episode. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for all the love on the most recent vlog I posted, the YouTube video. I love you guys endlessly. Like, I'm so forever grateful for all of you. So make sure we rate that fucking podcast 5 stars, okay? I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing day, night, evening. Whenever the fuck you're listening to this, you can follow me everywhere at She Is Livi. I'm talking YouTube. I'm talking TikTok. I'm talking Instagram. Everywhere, it's going to be She Is Livi. So I love you guys so much. I love this growth journey that we're on together. I want to hear about boundaries you've created and how they've helped you. I love you. So set those fucking boundaries.